Hey everyone, Thyworm here with a video on how to build the town in this league called Kingsmarch. I'm taking the perspective of an SSF player, focusing primarily on what is useful in an SSF league, although this is a more generic video so far. This league lets us as players interact with a completely new game mechanic, town building in Kingsmarch. And while you can't theoretically make mistakes and ultimately you will be able to unlock everything, I feel there is an efficient way to approach this, and it may not be super intuitive either. To explain this, I'm going to divide the town into 3 sections: resource generation, resource processing, and resource spending. I'm first going to explain these 3 sections, and then the conclusion explains how to use that knowledge to effectively set up your town ASAP. The first section is about resource generation. At the end of the day, you need a good income of resources to conduct all sorts of activities that we'll be covering a little later in the video. There are 3 resources: gold, ore, and food. So how do you get those? Gold is the easy one. You get it from killing monsters, opening chests, and plenty of other activities, I'm sure. I did notice that, for example, certain league mechanics do give plenty of gold, like Ritual, while Beyond doesn't seem to drop anything. Gold skills with item quantity and a decent juiced tier 16 map grants me around 10,000 gold on average. Those maps take a few minutes to complete, so you can easily make 100,000 gold per hour just mapping. Up next is ore, our second resource. Let's take a look at them in order of rarity. Starting with Crimson Iron Ore, the most common one, which spawns several corrupted growths around it, which you need to kill. The ore also spawns Beyond monsters, which can drop specific Beyond divination cards, where in particular the puzzle is nice, because it gives breach splinters, useful for that Maven invitation. There's Orichalcum, which again spawns Beyond monsters, which you need to kill. The reward is the ore, but also one of 2 buffs. You either get Bedat's Wrath, which rains down lightning towards enemies for 30 seconds, or you will gain Katash's Anger, raining down fiery meteors towards enemies for 30 seconds. These both do tons of damage and are a good reason to make your way towards the map boss to get the most out of them. Up next is Petrified Amber, and these deposits attract packs of enemies like a Blight encounter, which you must kill. Whenever an enemy hits the ore, it decreases its durability, with stronger or higher rarity enemies and close range attacks reducing more durability. Whatever durability is left, you take home as ore. Bismuth, our 4th ore, can be interacted with to add elemental monster modifiers to all magic and rare monsters in the area. The whole area turns dark too. Bismuth also creates several damaging elemental tornadoes nearby that chase the player and creates elemental ground effects, which can be nasty if you're not paying attention. Lastly, we have Verisium, which requires players to hold and release the node to increase the difficulty and rewards of monsters that spawn from it. Hold this for too long and you're dead. I typically stop around 70%, else it gets really crazy. Our third main resource is food. Within no time you unlock farming at Gwennen for only 45 gold at first. It gives you a single field where you can grow wheat and corn, and as you expand on the farming you get more fields, more workers, and you can grow more food. Ultimately you will have 6 fields and 5 types of foods. The only thing that's important when building the city is to make sure you grow one of each food, because you need all of them for the improvements to the buildings. Our second section is resource processing. GGG didn't make it all too difficult, honestly. Only one resource must be processed, which is ore. You smelt ore into bars and that's it. Food doesn't require processing. You don't need to turn wheat into bread or something. Wheat is just that, apparently, and we're eating it as is. The processed ore, so the bars of orichalcum and such, are building materials for many of the upgrades in your town, including the upgrades for the smelter itself. You should see them as such until your town is completely upgraded when it comes to resource generation and resource processing. Do not spend these bars on anything else just yet, but use them for the construction of these buildings. Our final section is resource spending, and here we get much more into the utilities of Kingsmarch. It is tempting to start building all sorts of additional buildings like a port, map devices, a disenchanter, etc. But it is not the best idea at the start. In this video, I'm not going too much into the many things you can spend all your resources on, like trading, using ships, running maps, crafting, disenchanting and whatnot. The point is to get your town up and running ASAP, and in order to do that you must exercise a bit of control. Basically, if you want to expedite the process, don't spend resources on anything else but town improvement that involves buildings for resource generation and resource processing, so mining, smelting and the farm. Before we get to the conclusion, what is very important is that you also upgrade the recruitment ranks, because you need to have the worker slots available and you want the higher level workers because they're more efficient. It also allows you to hire those better workers. And I'm going to do a deep dive on recruitment in general in a separate video, because I think it's interesting to talk about specifically that. And that ultimately brings me to the conclusion. The upgrades for the buildings that generate resources for you and process those all require the very same materials as those buildings are providing. It is a self-sustaining system, which is great because it means you can max out mining, smelting and farming just from having those 3 buildings in place. And there are several reasons why you should be doing this. The first should be obvious at this point because it is the basis of your economy. So once you get that fully set up and upgraded, you start reaping the rewards, even when you're not playing the game, because as long as there's gold in the treasury, your farmers will keep producing food. Mine are farming right now as I am writing this script. The second reason is that you may not realize how much gold you're spending on other activities that don't involve the foundation of the town, so resource generation and processing. Workers that are doing something, like an activity, cost an hourly wage, and some workers are a lot more expensive than others. Like the guys that are running maps are incredibly expensive no matter their rank, while farmers are pretty cheap. Workers that are idle don't cost anything, by the way. If you're going out already on expeditions and running maps and doing all sorts of activities which require gold and a lot of it, and also resources, potentially a lot of it, you are severely delaying upgrades to the buildings that provide those very resources. So it's better to hold off a bit with all of that until you have maxed out mining, smelting and farming. And last but not least, your buildings and its workers get much better at their jobs by upgrading the buildings. Maxing out farming provides access to all food, 18 farmers, 6 farming plots, 25% increased farming speed and crop yield increases. Maxed mining gives access to all the ore, it gives gold equal to the ore farmed in a map, which is a very nice buff. 12 miners, 30% increased mining speed and 45% increased ore found in maps, plus ores are more likely to be rare. Smelting's final upgrade allows you to smelt all ores, gives 12 smelters and 60% increased smelting speed. As soon as you have reached these milestones, so maxed out all of these, plus recruitment at a level so you can actually hire people to work all those positions, meaning you'll need around level 6 recruitment, you are now all set to go. You're all set to expand. In the next few videos I will dive deeper into those mechanics, like shipping and disenchanting and whatnot, and I will give you my thoughts on how to leverage this for solo self-found. For now, I hope this was useful. Let me know what you think. I hope you have a great time building your town. Subscribe and like for more PoE SSF content. Thanks so much for watching and making it to the end. Love you all. See you soon. Bye bye.